Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems, good evening and welcome to it. It is the Private Property Podcast and I'm your host, Sibs Matiela, here to talk about all things property like we usually do. Now, you know I don't have all the answers to your burning questions, but you also know that I bring in all of the people who do. And today is no different. We are speaking to Absa's Managing Executive for Home Loans, Nondumiso Ncapai. How are you?
I'm good, and you, sis?
Good. Welcome back to your home away from home.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Yeah. I mean, we had you, like a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But it's great to be here and great to be sharing and engaging again.
Absolutely, because I have new questions for you this time. So I'm just going to go. First things first. I mean, we've spoken about how first-time home buyers were really reaping the benefits and the rewards of low interest rates. Fast forward to, the midterm budget speech that happened and the repo rate going up by 75 basis points recently. What kind of market can first-time home buyers now be looking forward to going into the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023? Because it's vastly different from what we've been discussing earlier on in the year.
Yeah. Sips, you're absolutely right. The market has slightly shifted. It's fundamentally different from when the interest rates were quite low for, I think the last time we had the lowest interest rates was 50 years. But, when we fast forward and look at 2022 and taking into consideration with all the interest rate hikes that we've had, beginning to see that first-time buyers are slightly pulling back. And that makes a lot of sense because affordability with the higher interest rates is an issue. We're starting to see your non-first-time buyers coming in, and which makes sense at this point in the economic cycle with interest rates. And coming back to first-time buyers, I do foresee that the demand will be muted for now, including going into 2023, given that we will still experience interest rate hikes. But also keep in mind that inflation is an issue.
Yeah.
Consumers are under pressure, and for them, they're going to have to rethink how they budget and look at the most important elements and the most important decisions that they need to take, which means delaying a property transaction decision, particularly for first-time buyers, and perhaps renting for longer.
So I suppose my next question would be, given these forecasts or what you see happening in the next couple of months or, 2023 in general, what would you say you as Absa are doing to sort of empower the first-time home buyers? What are you offering them now when it comes to home loans in this current climate?
Great question. So we've looked at the market and we had recently launched a first-time buyer proposition, which actually takes into account the pain points that first-time buyers go through when they get into a property transaction.
Which would be?
Which would be costs. I mean, think about it. The costs associated with buying a home are immense. And what we've done, we've said, let's give you a little bit more than 100%. And that component will then help you with costs. We've gone further. We've said there's discounts as well for bond registration costs. And we've said this can also benefit the consumer. But even more so, if a consumer banks with us and they come in and they open a transactional account, we've said the benefit is that we can give you a rate discount because price is a concern. I mean, the price has an impact on what you pay on a monthly basis. As a bank, we continuously look for opportunities to ease the pressure points for the different segments which we serve as a bank.
How would you sum up this year for you guys and the performance just in general regarding home loans and the consumer?
If I look at bank as a bank, we're a resilient bank. Financial service is quite strong. When I look at consumers and looking at the numbers, we are seeing the pressure from a consumer perspective. I have no doubt that the industry is resilient and will continue to be resilient during this time. It is an economic cycle that we've been through before as an industry. And I do foresee that once we get past this stage, it will begin to normalize. And when it normalizes, opportunities will open up again for the segments that are probably sitting and thinking, actually, let me pause and wait before I make a biggest decision of my life.
So, I mean, it is one of the biggest decisions you could probably make in your life. And, I hear you talking about the pain points, about the costs and all of those things. And people are getting much more conservative, with what they put themselves out there in terms of the debt because it's very hard to recover from once you think you can afford something and life comes at you very, very quickly. And suddenly you're in a position where you're almost scrambling and working backwards to try and cover your tracks because now you're in a really just awful financial position. But at the same time, there's always a kind of risk that's associated with making big investments, including buying homes. So I almost wonder, is there a point or a circumstance or a situation where you'd look at someone based on your knowledge and what you see in your division and your department and you'd go, you know what, I understand that it's a risky business right now to go into this thing, but looking at you, looking at how you've been paying your debts, looking at what you've got coming in, maybe you can take this risk. Maybe you don't have to tighten as much as you think you have to tighten. Would you give that kind of advice to anyone?
So my advice, and it centers around the intent of NCA. We have got to ensure as banks to protect the consumer and the bank that the affordability assessment and the test is met. That's the most important thing, ensuring that the consumer meets that affordability, but at the same time, considering as well the profile of the consumer at that point in time. Of course, there are those consumers that have a great affordability, but they actually have issues on their credit bureau. So those things have to be considered in context. But at the same time, it does help when consumers have prepared enough for the property transactions. And perhaps the consumer has a deposit. That actually allows you to engage the bank and negotiate for a better outcome with regards to pricing, which then obviously impacts the monthly repayments that you pay on your bond. So those things have to be looked at in context. And I want to say, Sibs, every individual has different circumstances. We can never put a single paintbrush to say it applies to all. It's a principle I will always say, affordability is key. Make the right decision for yourself as an individual at the right time and engage the bank. The worst that can happen is that you can be told, not now, but let's try later. But then you're better informed around where you are and what you need to prepare for in order to come back again for a property transaction.
I love that you've spoken about being prepared and sort of engaging, because a lot of people would if you've never done this before, it's a very intimidating process. And you sort of assume, as with a lot of things, that maybe there's no room for negotiation. There's no room to sort of present yourself and come up with different options of, ways of doing things and go, okay, maybe but I do actually have a deposit, or maybe if I do things like this, and the engagement part of it, because you're so intimidated by the entire process and how much money, the amounts that you're looking at, it can make you sort of shy away. So I wonder what you would say to people who are shying away, not having considered that there are so many different options that are out there.
Absolutely. I must say, as a bank, we're here to serve. And if I have to give a proof point, there's so many tools that we've developed and that we've made more accessible for consumers. In the comfort of your own home today, you can sit back, relax, use your smartphone, go to the website, go through the home, the pre-qualification tool that literally gives you a view of what the bank is likely to lend you. And that gives you confidence to then understand where you are. All of those elements are there to make it easy for the consumer to make the right decisions. But even more so, I want to say, as a consumer, that we're here to serve. One shouldn't shy away, even when times are tough. Let's assume that you own property that is bonded and you're struggling. The best you can do for yourself and for your family is to come forward to the bank and engage. It applies to when you're an existing homeowner, or whether you're a first-time buyer, not sure about what should I do next to prepare myself. Open engagement, we're here to serve. Tools are available. We've made the right information available and easily, in a simple manner, to help you as a consumer to make the right decisions.
I think having that assurity that your bank is there to serve you, as Absa does, is really something that can lift so many burdens off your shoulders. I know people go into panic mode when these obstacles are thrown at you, and fight, flight, or fawn, and you sort of don't know what to do, so you'll sort of try and hide in a hole, or stick your head in the sand and wait for it to go away. And then that time things are piling up, private numbers are phoning you, you're trying not to answer them, or you're putting on your true caller to see who's phoning me, or making your kids answer to say your mother's not home. All sorts of things that are actually avoidable just by having a conversation and not being scared to say, these are my circumstances. How can you help me? How can we work through this together? And that's the difference, I think, with Absa.
That's the difference. And we've done it many a times, Sibs. I mean, we went through COVID, and you would know, of course, that we put in the market a significant payment relief program because we understood where consumers found themselves, and that allowed consumers to breathe during a time when there was a lot of uncertainty. And it's looking at that and seeing that as a bank, we understand. We understand consumers. We know where consumers find themselves. We understand the context in which we're in today. The best is engage. Engage.
Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm with a bank, it's not Absa. Hypothetically, not me, my friend.
Sibs.
It's not me, I'm telling you, it's not me. Must I take out my wallet? I'm with a bank, it's not Absa. I hear about all of these amazing products that you guys have, and then I think, maybe I should be with Absa. Do I have to be with Absa to qualify for all of the, for instance, I want to now apply for a home loan. It's my first home. I've never done this before. I bank with another one. Must I now switch over to you guys?
So if, and let's take it in steps. So if you currently have a home loan anywhere else and you are thinking there's great propositions with Absa, there is a switching proposition.
What?
Which removes the pain point of switching from one bank to the other, particularly where costs are concerned. So that's the one. I think the second element of your question is really a broader question around, do I have to be an Absa customer to gain the benefits of the wide range of propositions that you've got? No, you don't have to be an Absa customer. Of course, there are some propositions that actually require you to have met certain conditions to then qualify for better benefits. And I give a simple example to say, if you choose to move your transactional relationship to Absa, there is a rate discount, and there's benefits in doing that as a homeowner or when you're applying for a home loan. Because when you have a home loan and you bank with the same bank, it makes your life easier. If you have to transact and put more into your home loan, it's much easier, and you get better benefits around rewards. Of course, also for us as a bank, it enables us to know you better. When we know you better, we can serve you even better with more propositions in the bank.
About your propositions, of all of them, every single one of them, which one are you complimented on the most?
It's different segments, different customers, and each of them meet different needs, Sibs, to be quite honest. If I look at the property investor market segment, they absolutely love our future rental income, which allows them to unlock their affordability to gain the next property. When I look at existing customers that are selling their property and wanting to buy again, they say, I love the fact that there's some loyalty in the way you've built the proposition. You're recognizing me for choosing to refinance with you. Again, when I look at first-time buyers, what we spoke about earlier on, it's the very fact that the proposition removes the friction points that often first-time buyers face when they get into a property transactions.
Now that's Africanacity. I've always wanted to do that on camera. Nondumiso Ncapai from Absa, thank you so much for joining us once more. Good luck with the rest of the year, and here's hoping that 2023, as tricky as it might get, you know, that people still feel as though they can come to you and, you know, get really value of all of the things that you're offering so many of us. And thank you very much for the service that you offer. It's real person-to-person service. I think it's very hard to come by these days, and I'm so glad that you guys are giving that to us.
Thank you so much, Sibs. As I said, we're here to serve. Africanacity.
That's Africanacity.
Thank you.
That's all we have for today's episode. Listen, I will be back again soon, but for now, good night.